Dr. Snehlata Dubey, coordinator of today's webinar. I invite Professor Dr. Yashodhara Gaur Madam for welcome address. Ma'am, please share your screen.
Oh, share. No. May I be my video, my picture will be seen or my slides? Khushbu?
Slide.
Slides not needed at present. I just wish to welcome you all. Myself, Dr. Yashodhara. I am President, Gwalior Obstetric Society. On behalf of the Gwalior Obstetric Gynae Society, I welcome you all, especially my co-speaker, my Dr. Kusumlata Singhal, and the Dr. Yashodhara Kali, who is President of Lucknow Obstetric Gynae Society, and Madam is our nominated candidate for North Zone Vice President, and she has a very vast experience of 35, and she is going to moderate a panel discussion on chronic liver disease, which is a very rare and very difficult conditions to manage. And on behalf of the society, welcome our seniors present in participating. And, my panelists, Dr. Monica Jain, Dr. Kirti Dhoni, Dr. Kirti and Dr. Sonali Agarwal. I welcome you all on this webinar, and I am happy to inform you all. Please unmute others. Khushbu.
Visible and audible, but why not on my screen?
Khushbu, please unmute.
नहीं अभी पहले तो मुझे दिख रहा था, उसके बाद में कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुई तो अभी मुझे नहीं, मैंने अभी लॉग आउट करके ही लॉग इन किया था, उसके बाद से कुछ दिख नहीं रहा. अभी मेरा फर्स्ट स्टॉप है तो अच्छा.
So shall I start? Khushbu, are you there? Are you listening my voice? Is any technical person is there? Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am, I am hearing you. I am Dr. Snehlata Dubey, but I think there is some problem in Kusumlata Singhal ma'am's slide, and Khushbu is sorting out that, I think.
Okay, so by that time we
let me introduce Dr. Kusumlata Singhal ma'am. Till then.
Is the problem is sorted out or not?
Ma'am, there is no reply from Khushbu side.
I will talk to the Mudgal.
Okay.
सुनो, तो कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है ना, कुछ भी नहीं दिखाई नहीं, दिख तो रहे हैं पर सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है. उनको बोलो जरा अनिता को.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yes.
इसमें जो मैं देख रहा हूँ आपकी आवाज आ रही है, सबकी आ रही है.
अभी आने लगी. अभी
हेलो.
हेलो.
एक मैं सभी उनको बोल ही देता हूँ.
हाँ, प्लीज. हेलो अनंता, आर यू देयर?
Yeah, ma'am.
So now I think every problem is sorted out.
Yes, ma'am. Shall we start? Ma'am, I am Dr. Snehlata Dubey. Shall we start?
Kusumlata Singh's audio video is problem is solved or not?
Yeah, ma'am. Audio is coming.
Khushbu, can you upload
audio
my
is coming.
presentation? Khushbu, can you upload my presentation?
दीदी अभी करेंगे आपका प्रेजेंटेशन अपलोड अभी.
मैम करना है. हाँ जी मैम. जी मैम.
Please start again.
The voice is not at all clear.
It's
blurring.
Yeah. Okay.
Anand,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Kusum ma'am's presentation, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
Snehata,
start.
please start once again.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Ananta,
Yeah.
please keep quiet. Please keep quiet.
Is
Kindly
Snehata,
mute all others.
हाँ.
Anand,
my
mute
voice
others
clear?
except. Yeah.
Hello.
Anand, mute others apart from Snehalata ma'am and Kusum ma'am.
Audible?
I'm
No.
starting again.
Right.
We
Yes.
start?
Keep me unmuted all the time.
Muted, ma'am. Hello.
Unmuted.
Yes.
Keep me unmuted all the time.
Shall I
Is it
start
clear?
again?
My voice is clear?
Yeah.
Is my voice clear? Can I start? Can you all hear me?
Hello.
Sneha, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Shall I start?
I'm starting it again.
Okay. Okay.
Let's start again. Uh, hello. Hello.
Hello.
हाँ जी
Ma'am,
मैम मैं
can
स्टार्ट कर रही हूँ फिर
हाँ करो.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I welcome you all to the webinar organized by Gwalior Ops and Gynae Society in association with Acumentis Healthcare on polycystic ovarian syndrome and high-risk pregnancy. I myself, Dr. Snehalata Dubey, coordinator of today's webinar. I invite Professor Dr. Yashodhara Gaur Madam for welcome address.
Uh,
Yashodhara Gaur ma'am, please.
am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, very well audible.
Good evening. Good evening, respected seniors present in the audience, my friends, my co-speaker Dr. Kusumlata Singhal, my moderator of today's discussion, panel discussion, Madam Yashodhara Pradeep Madam, and my active panelists, Dr. Monica Jain, Dr. Kirti Donde, Dr. Preeti Gupta, and Dr. Sonali. I welcome you all, and this is to inform you that this is our fifth webinar of last 1.5 months, and we are going on very good track. Okay, with these words, I hand over my mic to Dr. Snehata for further conduction. Dr. Snehata, please invite next speaker.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am has already welcomed all our speakers and panelists. No need to introduce them again. Now, to start with, I invite Dr. Kusum Lata Singhal, madam, our first speaker. She is consultant gynecologist Gwalior, past president GOX, executive member MPOX, and secretary IMA Gwalior. Madam is writer of many books and writer, director, and producer of a short film Agyanta Bhi Abhishap. She will talk on high risk pregnancy. Ma'am, please share your screen and start. Dr. Kusum Lata Singhal,
Am I
ma'am,
audible?
please start. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Very well audible. You may start.
Should I start?
Yes, ma'am.
I think Dr. Kusumlata Singhal दीदी आप start करिए. Any problem?
हेलो सिंगल मैम प्लीज स्टार्ट.
कुछ आ नहीं रहा है, आवाज ही नहीं आ रही कुछ.
यस मैम प्लीज स्टार्ट.
Can
मैम आ रही है आपकी आवाज हमें.
you people
मैम
hear me?
हमें आपकी आवाज आ रही है. यस
Can you
मैम.
hear me? तो मैं कर दूं स्टार्ट.
यस मैम. यस यस यस.
Okay. So
यस मैम स्टार्ट करिए.
So we will proceed on to, yes, we'll proceed with our talk on high risk pregnancy. High risk pregnancy we want to predict, we want to prevent, and we want to manage. So high risk pregnancy is a big burden. Almost more than 50% of the obstetrics consist of high risk pregnancies. Normal pregnancies day by day, the percentage of normal pregnancies is decreasing day by day. Almost more than 60% of our obstetrics consists of high risk pregnancies. And every year nearly more than 5 lakh deaths globally occur because of high risk pregnancy. Yes, can go speak and you all, am I
यस मैम. यस मैम.
factors
यस मैम वी आर हियरिंग यू.
there are many factors which indicate that any particular pregnancy is going to be high risk pregnancy or not. I'll go a bit fast because we will have to finish in time. We will have so many more lectures. So all these factors we already know: maternal age, chronic diseases, previous history of IUGR, stillbirth, multiple gestation. All these comprise of high risk pregnancies.
Please,
All these
all the
comprise of
participants, please
pregnancies.
keep quiet.
So, as high risk pregnancies consist of many diseases, only in one slide each I will try to say about each condition. Like in hyperemesis, we all know when to label it as hyperemesis when the patient comes with dehydration and dry mouth, loss of thirst. There we have to do fluid replacement and give antiemetics. Then if it is a
कोई फास्ट चार्ज हो.
if it is abruptio placent, if it cytomia and both
So many technical problems are coming. Voice is interrupting. Ananta, can you hear me?
मैं भी अपना वीडियोस देखूं.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am.
We are not getting clear voice from Dr. Kusum Singhal. Voice is interrupting.
Ma'am, its internet is fluctuating little bit. It is also lagging sometimes.
Amenorrhea, history of pain, history of dizziness, and the treatment consists of immediate discontinuation of the pregnancy, either medical with mesotric to change.
कुसुम दीदी आप नेट में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है क्या?
Hypertensive disorders eclampsia as opposed to the life of the fetus. As far as eclampsia is concerned, it causes involvement of multiple organs of the mother and poses immediate danger to the life of the disorders of the pregnancy, preeclampsia, etc. also are very, very important to deal with, as they are also very, very dangerous to the life of the mother as well as to the fetus. Then coming to the HELP syndrome. This HELP syndrome is always a threat, and always a danger to the life of the mother as well as to the risk of through the attending obstetrician. HELP syndrome, the name of the HELP syndrome poses a grave threat to the obstetrician's dilemma, because that target organ is liver. I think Yashodhara madam is going to cover this topic very nicely in detail. So we will go to the next slide. Then disseminated intravascular coagulation. The moment we see that some particular patient is having DIC, we start sweating. Before the patient sweats, we start sweating because of this DIC. So we have to know all these things, how to manage these DIC, shock, oliguria, diaphoresis, seizures. Underlying condition has to be immediately tackled. Then after this DIC, then cervical incompetence, gestational mellitus. I'm going very, very fast because within 15 to 20 minutes we have to cover this topic, and we have more interesting topics ahead. So then gestational diabetes mellitus. This is again a very, very important and very, very dangerous condition. I have seen ladies who have lost series of babies, first, second, third, fourth, series of babies they have lost due to diabetes mellitus. So patient comes to us immediately at the first visit. We have to get the sugar checked, and then again, if the patient is having normal sugar at the first visit, then we will have to check the sugar again at 24 and 28 weeks and manage accordingly. Then another high risk pregnancy is cardiac disease in pregnancy. Cardiac disease in pregnancy, again, it poses very, very high risk to the mother as well as to the fetus. We have to proceed with the pregnancy only if the cardiac condition of the mother allows. If there is derangement, if the heart is unable to bear the brunt of pregnancy, so many times we have to terminate the pregnancy before full term. Then pre-existing diabetes mellitus, if it is there, we have to plan before conception. Before she comes with pregnancy, we have to plan, and we have to make sure that the sugar levels are normal, at least 1 month before pregnancy. Then it is really very, very serious disease. Patient comes in either in last trimester or within first few months after delivery. Patient comes with derangement of the heart. Patient comes with breathlessness, and without any known cause, the patient's heart stops to work. Patient heart stops to bear the brunt of delivery. So the management is to improve cardiac performance. We have to give anticoagulants. In this cardiomyopathy, there is high incidence of embolic events, and the prognosis is also very, very poor. So all these are the high-risk pregnancies. Then another condition which frequently complicates pregnancy is urinary tract infection, which we all know how to tackle with antibiotics, etc. So this was the small list of high-risk pregnancies which pose complications to the life of the mother as well as to the. We have to identify individual risk and then manage accordingly. But can we do anything in common? Can we do anything in common either to determine that any patient is going to get high-risk pregnancy or to prevent high-risk pregnancies? Yes. Apart from identifying the high-risk pregnancies and managing when they come to us, we can do much more when the patient comes to us even before pregnancy. All these high-risk pregnancies, they form all the cases of bad obstetric histories by way of lady losing the babies. So all these high-risk pregnancies contribute to the bad obstetric histories. So these bad obstetric history, apart from managing each and every patient individually, what we can do to every patient? Can we prevent these patients to? Can we prevent these complications in these pregnancies? Yes. It has been observed by many studies that apart from identifying individual risk factor, if the patients come to us before pregnancy or the initial stages of pregnancy and even throughout the pregnancies, there is one factor in common to all the pathologies, that is the nutritional deficiencies. So many times patient has so many nutritional deficiencies posing the risk of so many complications. So what we can do is, when the patient comes to us even before conception, we can plan her, see to it that she doesn't have any nutritional deficiencies, so that she doesn't have any these high risk pregnancies. So what are the risk factors which take the patient to any of these high risk pregnancies? So one by one we will see what are the risk factors related to nutrition. Of course, we are managing the high risk pregnancies individually, but what is common in all the pregnancies, normal pregnancies as well as high risk pregnancies, and what we can do preconceptionally during conception is, one by one we try to rule out the nutritional deficiencies. So one factor is hyperhomocystinemia. It is not very much uncommon. We see so many patients of hyperhomocystinemia which cause to adverse pregnancy outcomes. So what happens? How does homocysteine accumulates in anybody's body? What happens is the methionine we take in our diet, that gets converted into homocysteine normally. In the normal course of time, the methionine is converted into homocysteine, and this homocysteine is converted to cysteine. Some part of it is converted to cysteine, and if this homocysteine is not converted back to methionine, homocysteine accumulates in the body and is responsible for many of the complications. So how this homocysteine is converted back to methionine? This homocysteine is converted back to methionine by the presence of folic acid, L-methylfolate and methylcobalamin. Because of the presence of these vitamins, homocysteine is converted back to methionine, and because of the presence of pyridoxal 5-phosphate, homocysteine is converted to cysteine. So if of these three vitamins positions folic acid is
ये तुम्हारा कैमरा ऑन कर दिया बंद करो वहां से बंद कर दो एग्जिट करो
responsible for converting homocysteine into able to
yes
people lack certain vitamins, lack certain enzymes. It is important to homocysteine is not. So one thing like folic acid, B12. micronutrient deficiency with adverse pregnancy outcomes. There is deficiency of micronutrients during pregnancy. Complications such as hypertension, impairment of fetal function, development and growth has been seen. Because if there is hypertension, we never see, we always go and manage the hypertension with anti-hypertensive drugs, etc. But generally we don't look at the patient from this point of view also. Generally we don't these micronutrients. Deficiencies of micronutrients such as folic acid, zinc, vitamins A, B6, B12, even vitamin C, vitamin E, riboflavin, these are also highly prevalent in our country, and they may occur concurrently among pregnant women. Several nutritional deprivation studies have shown that in exceptional period, these deficiencies, they decrease fertility, and these deficiencies increase the neural tube defects. If these deficiencies of micronutrients persist in first trimester, it has been seen that the first trimester nutritional deficiencies lead to stillbirths in late trimester. They lead to early newborn deaths. We don't think of newborn deaths or stillbirths to nutritional deficiencies. But yes, this has been seen so many times. We don't know that why this stillbirth has occurred, why this newborn died. So many times we are not able to trace the cause, and so many times the cause lies in the deficiency of micronutrients. If the micronutrient deficiencies is prevalent in second and third trimester, then this can cause low birth weight. It can cause small for gestational age babies. It can cause preterm birth. So nutritional deficiencies, right from vitamins, right from minerals to trace elements, all these can cause all sorts of complicated pregnancies, all sorts of difficult deliveries can occur because of malnutrition. The single factor malnutrition can cause all this. Birth weight is significantly influenced by these deficiencies. Then micronutrients and pregnancy outcome, if we see, micronutrient deficiencies has been associated with so many pregnancy adverse outcomes of pregnancy. If there is folic acid deficiency, there has been, as we all know, neural tube defects have been seen, and reducing the homocysteine levels by supplementing with active form of folic acid, that is L-methyl folate, so many neural tube defects can be perverted. So if we supply iron, so many preterm deliveries can be avoided, so many mentally retarded babies can be avoided, anemia can be prevented. And anemia, as we all know, can cause so many complications per se. So supplementing a patient with folic acid, with iron, with iodine supplementation can help us with fetal growth development. It can avoid the development of cretinism. Then supplementation of calcium, maintenance of skeletal, neuromuscular and cardiac function. All these are dependent on the optimum levels of calcium. So supplementation of calcium is also important. Then supplementation of zinc. Zinc regulates gene expression. For prevention of anemia, for correction of anemia, along with iron, B12, we have to supplement zinc also. If zinc is deficient, again we have seen that birth weight of the baby is low. Then apart from the standard supplementations of iron, folic acid, calcium, zinc, then many more vitamins and trace elements like vitamin A. If the mother is deficient in vitamin A, there has been seen complications like IUGR, preterm birth, low birth weight babies, placental abruption. So when we come across all these complications like preterm birth, low birth weight, or abruptio placentae, we never know why these things have happened. So if the patient comes to us before pregnancy or in the initial stages of pregnancy, along with standard iron, calcium, etc., if we can always supplement the women with vitamin, with all these things, so that all these complications are prevented. If the woman is deficient in vitamin D, then formation of fetus may be defective. Supplementation of the vitamin E, this protects cell membranes and thereby prevent so many complications. Then copper deficiency. So many times we all know that we have to supplement folic acid for prevention of neural tube defects, but we never thought of supplementing copper. We never supplement the women with copper. So copper deficiency is also responsible for causing neural tube defects, especially anencephaly, and it causes low birth weight babies too. Then the trace elements like selenium. Selenium is also very much important in preventing neural tube defects, dysfunction of brain and dysfunction of cerebrovascular system, and even prevention of abortion. And then supplementation of magnesium. If the magnesium is deficient, patient may show hyper blood coagulability and preterm birth. As we all know, hypercoagulability of blood is responsible for so many complications, right from hypertensive disorders, to HELLP syndrome and DIC. So the micronutrients, along with supplementation of iron, calcium, which we all are doing very much regularly, supplementation of micronutrients is very, very important. So what micronutrients can we give? We have to supplement all the women with minerals as well as vitamins. Minerals in the form of zinc, in the form of iodine, selenium, copper, all these have to be supplemented. And apart from these vitamins, fat-soluble vitamins as well as water-soluble vitamins like thiamine, riboflavin, B1, B6, B9 and vitamin C. Fat-soluble vitamins like A and E. All these vitamins and all these minerals, they have got a very important role in preventing all these complications. As you all can see in this chart, deficiencies of all these micronutrients are responsible for all those complications of pregnancies, all those high-risk pregnancies. So there are a few studies which have been shown micronutrients and effect of supplementation on pregnancy and pregnancy outcome. Multiple micronutrient supplementations in pregnant women may be a promising strategy for reducing adverse pregnancy outcomes through improved maternal nutritional and immune status. So when the patient comes to us, before she develops a complication, patient expects us to give her a healthy baby and a healthy mother. So that time we are not sure whether this patient is going to develop any complication or not. So although we 100% cannot assure the patient that she is not going to develop any complication, but we can always help her by supplementing her with all these micronutrients so that she doesn't develop any complication because of deficiency of all these things. All these micronutrients, although they are needed in very small quantities, but still these are very much essential for the physiological function and growth and development of fetus. Most current evidence shows that giving multiple micronutrient supplements reduces the risk of IUGR babies, small for size babies, than giving only iron folic acid supplementation. So this study has shown that supplementing a patient only with iron folic acid and calcium, and it has been compared with supplementing the patient with iron folic acid along with micronutrient. So there were much better results when micronutrients were also added along with folic acid to these patients and there was far less. Then this is another study in which the comparison of miscarriages was done, and it was seen that when multiple micronutrients was supplemented, the risk of miscarriages was reduced to a great extent. Then this is another study. In this study, again micronutrient supplementation was studied, and it was found that if the woman was supplemented along with iron, calcium and folic acid, if she was given those trace elements and minerals as well, the number of preterm birth, percentage of preterm births was reduced. So we can clearly see that high-risk pregnancies are reduced. If not prevented totally, we can always reduce the risks of high-risk pregnancy by supplementing with these micronutrients. Then this thyroid in pregnancy. This is also nowadays a very, very common disorder in pregnancy, and it has been, the test of thyroid has been included in the essential tests for every woman in first trimester itself. And we have seen that although hyperthyroidism is not very common, but hypothyroidism is more than 2% of the women, we find hypothyroidism. And hypothyroidism, persistence of hypothyroidism again causes so many complications in mother as well as in fetus. So we can always test this, and we can always supplement with thyroxine in these patients. Then role of micronutrients. In iodine and selenium deficient regions, both the deficiencies interact to affect thyroid metabolism. So what we are doing is we test the patient in first trimester for TSH or FT4. Then we supplement with thyroxine. But it has been observed that iodine and selenium, if they are deficient, then these patients are more prone to get hypothyroidism. So even before, if the patient comes to us before pregnancy, and if the patient comes to us in early pregnancy, we can always supplement the woman with these micronutrients so that her chances of going in for normal pregnancies are more. This is another study in which it has been clearly seen that if micronutrients are supplemented along with iron and folic acid, there is a reduced risk of pregnancy associated hypertension. So we, along with the management of all high risk pregnancies, it is our duty to help the patient reduce the incidence, to reduce the incidence and to prevent the occurrence of these high risk pregnancy. If the patient is coming to us regularly, and nowadays the well-educated patients even come before pregnancy to us, and they ask us, doctor, just check me, if I am not having any problem, can I go for a pregnancy? In those cases, it is our duty to check all those things, and it is our duty to supplement the patient with all those micronutrients so that patient doesn't suffer these high risk complications because of the deficiency. It has been seen that replacement of iron, folic acid and micronutrient supplements in middle and low income groups, it has been seen that again the complications were very, very less. Complications like low birth weight babies and small for gestational weight babies were very much less in these patients. There is another studies that there is a positive impact of multiple micronutrient supplementation along with iron and folic acid, and it was seen that some basic guide to the replacement of iron folic acid supplements in low and middle income countries. Ours is a country which comes in low and middle income countries. So patients coming from low income group and middle income groups, if we supplement them, we will be able to prevent so many complications. Then this is the recommendation of FIGO. FIGO is recommending daily multiple nutrient supplementation. They say that consultation with a nutritionalist such as registered dietitian appropriate and recommended for women with special nutritional considerations. FIGO recommend that multiple micronutrient vitamins should be advised once daily to all women, pre-conceptional as well as after conception. FIGO also says that apart from micronutrients, iron, folic acid, and iodine should be supplemented. So we can see here what these deficiencies are doing. If there is folic acid deficiency and deficiency of another vitamin and active form of folic acid is not supplemented, those patients can go into hyperhomocystinemia, and this hyperhomocystinemia can cause abortions, it can cause abruptio placentae, it can cause thromboembolic events, and thromboembolic events can cause havoc in pregnancy, right from hypertensive disorders to thromboembolic events, even pulmonary embolism. Then if there is deficiency of water-soluble vitamins, then that causes increased oxidative stress in the mother, leading to impaired fetal growth. If there is deficiency of fat-soluble vitamins, again we come across IUGR babies, low birth weight babies, and again there is more risk of preeclampsia. If there is deficiency of minerals, again there is increased risk of abortions. More number of stillbirths are seen in these patients. Structural abnormalities including skeletal, pulmonary and cardiovascular defects are observed. So all these deficiencies, although it looks very much a minor thing, but these minor deficiencies are causing havoc to the life of pregnant women as well as to the life of the babies.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, ma'am.
Of L-methylfolate, methylcobalamin and pyridoxal can prevent recurrent pregnancy losses, prevent abortions, prevent abruptio placentae. Supplementation of thiamine, riboflavin, vitamin C and niacinamide can increase essential cofactor for energy metabolism and thereby improving fetal development. Then supplementation of vitamin A and vitamin E will definitely improve the birth weight and reduces the occurrence of preeclampsia.
Single ma'am.
Trace elements like zinc, iodine, selenium and copper, all these multi-minerals, if they are supplemented, they will reduce the incidence of stillbirth. It corrects structural abnormalities and it improves maternal nutritional status.
Kusum ma'am.
So, as we have seen that once we come across high-risk pregnancies, we have to manage accordingly. Individual cases have to be managed, but definitely we as an obstetrician can help the patient prevent these complications. Not only treat the complications, but we always can help the patient to prevent this complication in both mother as well as the child. We can prevent bad obstetric outcomes in most of the patients by supplementing them with their nutritional status. These deficiencies can sometimes be mortal. It includes conditions like BOH, IUGR, PIH, miscarriages, preterm birth, and hypothyroidism. All these can be reduced. The occurrence of all these can be reduced if we supplement the patient with multiple micronutrients. Pregnancy, because it is the condition of high demand nutrition. Multiple micronutrients should be supplemented from preconception till delivery for positive pregnancy outcomes. So friends, I would like to again insist that we tell the patient to come to us before she conceives, see that her nutritional status is good, see that she is properly immunized, see that
ऐसे
she doesn't have
ऐसे निशान आता है, क्रॉस में आता है, तो इसका
diseases
मतलब
like diabetes, hyperthyroid, etc. And before conception, at least 3 months before conception, if we start giving her multiple micronutrients and folic acid, definitely this patient is going to have reduced incidence of so many complications. This has been proved in many studies, and I myself is the witness. In many countries like US, they give multiple micronutrients along with iron and calcium throughout the pregnancy. 3 months before the conception and throughout the pregnancy, they are being supplemented. Thank you, friends.
Ma'am, am I audible? Hello?
Thank you all
Hello?
for patient listening.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, कुसुमलता. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, we can
Thank
take
you
up
very
at the
much.
end.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kusumlata
Hello,
ma'am,
Sneha.
for a very informative talk. Now I invite our next speaker, Professor Dr.
you,
Yashodhara
friends.
Pradeep ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Hello.
you, Dr. Sneh. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I invite our next speaker, Professor Dr. Yashodhara Pradeep ma'am, Professor and HOD, Department of Ops and Gynae, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, Institute of Medical Sciences. She is recipient of many awards. She has a teaching and training experience of 35 years. And Madam is a contestant for the post of Vice President Foxy North
Can you hear
Zone
me?
election year 2020.
Sneha,
Ma'am will
Can you hear me?
discuss cases of liver diseases in pregnancy. In this discussion, we have our 4 panelists, Dr. Kirti Dhonde ma'am, Dr. Monica Jain ma'am, Dr. Preeti Gupta ma'am, and Dr. Sonali. Ma'am,
you can
please
take up
share
the
your
mic,
screen
please.
and proceed.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
And my screen is also visible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Sneh, for your kind introduction. Good evening, all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, all the respected senior members of the society, colleagues, and friends from the Gwalior Society. I am thankful to the President, Dr. Yashodhara Gaur, and Secretary, Dr. Sonal Kulshresht, for giving me opportunity to meet virtually with the society members of the GOX.
Hello, we
And
can
I'm-
start with the next presentation.
and maybe other societies are also this thing. May I know that how many participants are there? Is there another society from the other society people are there? Mr. Ananta? Hello?
Almost 72 audience, 73 audience is there, madam. 73 participants.
Thank you.
Dr. Yashodhara.
Thank you, Dr. Yashodhara. I just wanted to know if from other societies are also there or only from the GOX.
Then that I have to check from the list.
Okay. No problem. So thank you, Dr. Yashodhara, once again.
Other societies are also okay. Okay, madam, please continue.
Yeah. So I'm thankful to you once again for giving me the opportunity, and it was a very vibrant talk by the Dr. Kusum Singhal, ma'am. So now I start my panel. How much time do I have for this? Because it is 5.
Madam, we will be having 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
45 minutes. So it is 5 o'clock almost.
Yes.
It's 4:58 p.m.
It's almost 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it is 4:58 p.m. So I invite my
Was it audible?
panelists.
जो मेरा talk हुआ audible था क्या?
I
Yes.
Dr. Kusumlata Singhal, please unmute yourself.
Second talk start.
Please unmute yourself.
Around.
Please unmute yourself. Rest of the audience, participants, please unmute yourself.
Okay, it is already going. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I invite my panelist, Dr. Monica Jain, who is I'm happy to know and is my privilege and proud.
क्या है तुम्हारी जो खुशबू टेक्निकल पर्सन
Can you please mute others? Miss Ananta, Mr. Ananta.
इसमें आवाज नहीं आ रही क्या? आवाज नहीं आ रही क्या?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, audible.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So I invite my panelist, Dr. Monica Jain, who is a consultant of in the Cancer Research Hospital, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Monica Jain because she is from Jhansi Medical College. My husband belongs, and from the KGMU, from where I belong. I have done all my MBBS, MD, everything from there, and worked for 35 years there, and just shifted. So Monica is having a lot of achievements, and I'm happy to see that she belongs to Subesh Hospital. Dr. Kirti Donde. Yes, are you there, Dr. Kirti? Hi, Dr. Kirti.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she is there.
Okay. Dr. Kirti is a senior OBGYN and runs the Nimaya Hospital in Gwalior, and she is a keen interest in the ultrasound. So we are going to have a good discussion, Dr. Kirti. Dr. Preeti Gupta, who is running the Gupta Memorial Hospital, Maternity Hospital, and she's a senior consultant and very experienced clinician. Dr. Sonal Agarwal, who runs the Agarwal Hospital, senior consultant, and they all are from the Gwalior Medical College. So we are going to start with my esteemed panelists who are there. So all my panelists are there. Who is going to do this thing is not moving. Dr. Mr. Ananta, my slides are not moving.
Anand, change the slide, Anand.
My slides
Anand?
are not moving. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take few minutes to say introduction. Incidence of the liver disease in pregnancy is 3%. So it is not a rare. It is 3% because hypertensive disorder is 2 to 8%. Most common cause of the liver dysfunction in the pregnancy, cause of significant maternal and infant mortality and morbidity. Most important to know, liver disease is due to pregnancy or pregnancy is in the existing liver disease. This is very important because the course of the events are different in both the things. Pregnancy is a state of hyperdynamic circulation. We all know there is a 40% increase in cardiac output and 30% increase in the plasma volume. So the one of the signs of the liver dysfunction is spider Palmer erythema and spider nevi. But this is present in most of the pregnant women, almost 70% of the pregnant women. So please, next slide. Please, next slide. Yes. So we are just going to cover what are the classification of the disease in pregnancy. Pregnancy-related liver disease or non-pregnancy related liver disease. Pregnancy-related, we all know hyperemesis gravidarum, intrahepatic cholestasis of pregnancy, hypertension-related liver disease, preeclampsia, HELLP syndrome, liver infarction, liver rupture, and acute fatty liver of the pregnancy. Non-pregnancy related liver diseases are, they may be pre-existing or they may come in during the pregnancy. So pre-existing could be viral hepatitis, cirrhosis and portal hypertension, post-liver transplantation, autoimmune, or they may come coincidentally during the pregnancy. It could be autoimmune, viral, vascular, Budd-Chiari syndrome, we all know. The hepatic vein gets blocked and the drug-induced hepatotoxicity. Next, please. Next. Next, please. So, why we have to know? Because pre-existing disease in pregnancy is being associated with, I suppose it is second this thing. There's one other slide which is gone. Hello. Hello. I changed my slide to a previous slide. I can't do that from my side. Can I do that from my side? Can I go back to the slide, please? Go back.
Ma'am, below the PPT, next button is there. You can change it from there.
Below the PPT, the next button is there.
Of course.
Okay. Fertility is reduced, so the pregnancy is not a very common thing when the pre-existing liver disease. because of the, we all know, estrogen metabolism occurs in the liver, and there's a CYPA enzyme is there. So there's a many enzymes, CYPA1, A1, 2, A1, and A1. So everything has been related, that which has been responsible for the hepatic and which has been responsible for the extrahepatic metabolism of the estrogen. So it is a hyperestrogenic state. So we get gynecomastia in cases of CLD, and ovulation and amenorrhea. And there's an increased risk of spontaneous miscarriage, preterm birth, worsening of the liver function, and hepatic decompensation. So it is not going, it is again coming back the same. How to do that? Yes, now. Mortality issue is there. Mortality is due to hemorrhage from esophageal varices is a common, and highest mortality occurs if there is a esophageal varices are present with the chronic liver disease. Mortality is as high as 10.6, but early diagnosis and management can reduce it to 1.6%. A lot of difference. Prognostic scoring is sometimes necessary to see whether this woman can continue, or will how this pregnancy is going to behave, and whether she needs a hepatic transplant or something else. Again, it is not moving. Yes. So I'm just showing you the typical reference range for the liver enzymes by the trimester. See that ALT remains same or it is decreased because of the hemodilution and the expansion of the plasma volume. AST same, it decreases all through trimesters from the non-pregnant level. Serum bilirubin is also almost same or decreases. It is rising in the first trimester, a little bit same in the first trimester, but in the second and third trimester it decreases. Alkaline phosphatase is the only thing which rises in the third trimester to a large extent because the fetal liver secretes alkaline phosphatase. Bile acids, we all know that this is a normal range if it is increased, and it is increased in the intrahepatic cholecystitis, intrahepatic IHP in the pregnancy. Hemoglobin, again, see second trimester fall, but again picks up. The platelet remains the common thing. They do not increase or decrease, but it has been seen that 10% of the women Indian women is having the platelet around 1.1 lakh instead of 1.5 to 2 lakhs. There's a 10% of the pregnancies it has been seen that it remains this. Yes, again it is not coming. Next from here. Yes. Okay. Complications are spontaneous miscarriage, preterm birth, growth fetus, stillbirths, maternal liver function, worsening of the synthetic function.
No audio.
Hepatic decompensation, development of ascites, variceal hemorrhage, encephalopathy. So it all cause increased maternal and fetal mortality and morbidity. So diagnosis and management of the varices are, this one slide has gone out, I suppose, which was showing the different range, the reference range. Anyway, diagnosis and management of the varices is endoscopy pre-pregnant